Alright, we're picking up where we left off with the last video from the other day of bringing that tractor home and whatever, and this is actually the same day we brought that tractor home, and we're just picking up where we left off with that last video because the last one got too long. Now, just to recap a little bit here, this truck belongs to my uncle. My Uncle John in Elbridge, and I built this truck, or built this box for him back in 06, and it is on a 2006 Paystar 5000. The cross members got rusted out on this. Rather than replace the whole box, we thought we would just kind of patch things up here and try to get 4, 5, 6 more years out of it. Now, Tim went and picked up a skid steer, a Kubota skid steer, which is a story for another day. That new Kubota skid steer that we bought, we ended up having to have them warranty the engine that was in it. It had 340 some odd hours on it, and something happened to the engine. The turbo failed, and it kind of tossed its cookies, and they ended up having to put a new engine in it. When Tim went out to pick that skid steer up, he ended up getting this steel from Klein Steel in Syracuse. Usually I order the steel out of Rochester, and providing I order it by 4 o'clock the day before, I get it the following day. Now what I'm doing is I'm using a piece of 3x4 angle iron on the back side of this rub rail, and basically the angle iron is going in like this, however, on the back side. I trim the cross members where the cross members come over underneath the floor to this rub rail. I cut those so that I could slide this angle iron up in to get it welded. Now I think there's 9 cross members on this side and either 10 or 11 on that side that are rusted out above the wheels, and we'll just kind of show you what this looks like here. This of course is one that I've cut so that I could reach that cross member up in there. And well, basically, where are we here? We've got there's a rusted out one right there. And what we're going to do is bring channel iron in. I've got one piece of channel setting in there, right there, and we're going to kind of split the difference in between the cross members, set over the top of that sill, tack weld it to the sill, bring it over, and weld it on the inside of this angle iron on the other side. We've got to do that to both sides. We've got to fix a couple of these upright posts here where they have rusted out. Now, this box only being 15 years old, I would not have thought that this would have rusted out as bad as it has, but I believe that the salt has got the best of it. We're going to go ahead and cut this grain spout off, and we're going to go ahead and put a new one on there. And we've got some other stuff to do to it as well, and we're just going to kind of be rolling along here. So we've got to weld all these cross members in. Once we get all them cut, we'll show you what that looks like in there. We'll get some welding done, and we're just going to kind of keep moving along here, and we'll try to get this done. There is a lot of rust that we have cleaned off of this while we've been cutting and trimming to try to get those cross members gapped out so that we could get up in there with a grinder as well. And it's kind of a mongrel, but we're dealing with it. So let's keep after it here, and we'll touch base with you throughout this job a little bit here and there, and hopefully we can get this done in the next few hours. Now we're gonna move over to the other side and start trimming them cross members over there so that we can slide a piece of angle iron up underneath the rub rail on the other side as well. So we've got this one stitched on here and we've got the cross members setting in. Now all we did was we just set across the sill a little ways because we had to put them cross members in from here and they were digging into the floor, so they couldn't be really any longer than what they are. And what we ended up doing was we ended up going in between each cross member. We've got all those welded in there, and you can see there, and that is going to reinforce this side. I don't think it would have ever went anywhere, so we're going to run over to the other side, do the same over there, get the bottom done, and we can put the box down, and then we'll start addressing these posts that have holes in them. We've got to do that. Go over to the back side here. Work on the tailgate. We've got to put a new grain spout and door on there, and then we've got to build the topper to go around the cab shield here. So we'll get moved over to the other side and we'll start doing the miserable job of cutting that rusty stuff out. Just basically all we're going to do is just trim that back far enough so we can get a grinder in there to grind off where the cross member was welded on this side of the rub rail. Alright, so you can hear the kerosene heater going there. We're having trouble with the waste oil burner, which we'll get into that in a minute here. While we get working on that truck again, I thought we'd just touch base with Jared here on the 4020. And by the way, I have lost my voice here, so he ended up pulling the steering wheel off it. He's got a brand new steering valve to put in there, and forever we've had just a sloppy throttle on this. And that spring-loaded override knob has been non-existent on this tractor for as long as I can remember. So on this side of the steering column, it's actually got a groove in it, and that's how that override button works. It works into this range here, and once you pull that knob out, then you can get that to go down in down into wide open. And then on these older tractors, that's what shut the tractor off, is you pull the knob out to pull the throttle linkage up to shut it off. We ended up sending the hood out to a local guy here, which hopefully we can touch base with him. He's going to straighten the hood all up. It had a couple of small little dents in it, and it had a spot where the muffler came back into it. So he's going to fix all that, make that look like a factory hood. And he's got a couple of other sheet metal pieces that he's going to get fixed up as well here before we get painting it. Jared's got a new steering valve here that he's putting on. He's just unhooking everything on it. Got a lot of steel lines here and there that we're going to replace. Got some other parts in boxes here. He's got rock shaft pieces, covers, seat rebuild kits and stuff like that. So he's going to get after things here, and we're contemplating on whether or not to order a complete wire harness for this, because this has been cobbled up through the past bunch of years here. So hate to put all this money into this damn thing and have one of these damn things short out and burn up here. So it's got a lot of butt connectors in there and goofy Scotch lock things that I quit using 100 years ago, but he's getting after it here. So Jay's doing some body work to this truck 6 here. I think he's got her more than figured out. Yeah. Or are those bolts just missing?
What's that?
Those bolts were just missing, huh? Because this fender was all loose.
No, I put new ones in. couldn't get them out, and plus there was a lot of play in there. So.
Oh, okay. So that's gonna more or less take care of that. He's getting a piece of angle iron in on this back side here, so he's kind of getting her all tightened up. So we've got the inline filter assembly here out of the waste oil burner, and this is the suction screen filter here. There's a cartridge filter that runs up top. I cleaned that one out and I couldn't get it to suck anything, and when I tried blowing air through it, I couldn't get air to blow through it either. So I realized that there was something else going on, so we pulled the suction tube out, and this filter here is just absolutely plugged. So we're gonna have to clean that up, and then we can get that furnace going here. Alright, we've got all this cleaned up. This is the inline filter unit, the straw that goes down into the tank. I, of course, didn't know there was a filter on there. It's a mesh screen filter, and there's also a mesh screen filter up on the top and a canister. Now, you've seen that earlier, how that was all plugged, and it makes it look like a cloth filter. And basically, I talked to the owner of the company, Larry is his name, and this is the stuff that is in it. And he said what it is the filters, it's oil filter material that has broke down, and that has found its way into the oil, and it's just fine, the fine part of the filter that gets mixed into the oil, and then of course it gets picked up in these filters here. So we're going to go ahead and put this back in there, and then we're going to get that heater fired up so that we don't have to listen to that salamander anymore here. Alright, so we're getting ready to put the straw back down in there. Actually, I could probably do this and hold the camera at the same time. This goes down in there like this. And this is just going to thread into the top of the tank here. We'll get this tightened up, and then what we have is a cartridge filter inside this filter housing. I took this out, that was plugged as well, and I thought this was going to be the problem. However, I could not get a prime out of it. So I thought the shaft was broke on the pump. I thought there was something wrong with the pump, but once we pulled that line out, I tried blowing air through it, and I couldn't get the air to blow through it the way I wanted to, so I figured I better take that straw off, and sure as hell there's a filter on that as well. So we'll get this all hooked up and get her going, and hopefully we can get some heat out of it here. Alright, we have lift off. It helped once I hooked this line up. It gave it some back pressure so that it could pump. But now we are burning a flame in there, and it took it 2 more times to pump once I hooked this line up and I opened that bleeder up again. So we have lift off. And we're going to be making heat with the older oil burner here. All right, Jared's got that steering valve out of there. There's the old one on the left, obviously. You can tell by how much dirt and crap it's got on there. And then here is the new one, the new and improved steering gear. So this is the spot that we were talking about earlier, and it's just absolutely wore out where the, it's actually, this would be like that, where the hand throttle works against. So the operator would be, this would be in front of the operator here like this. So he's gonna clean this up, get all this crap out of here. There's quite a bit of gunk and oily crap. He's got to get that all cleaned up and have at it here. Well, we've got all these cross members on this side. We've got them cut back so that we can slide this angle iron up in there. It looks kind of ratty here, but look at the rot holes. It's a rub rail. This is 3/16 3x4 box tube, and it is rusted right through. Yeah, I got to do a little cleanup down there with a grinder on that one, but we're gonna have to trim a little bit more back here and get the angle iron pushed up against there. I've got to cut this piece to length yet so it'll fit in between this cross member here and this one up here. So we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 7, 8, 9, 10 cross members that were mended on this side. I think there was 8 or 9 on the other side. So we're gonna get this cleaned up a little better, get this angle iron cut, put the box down, jack the angle iron up in there, clamp it, and then start sending our cross members in. Well, that poor guy didn't make it. Oh, that was a good trash can too. Oh well, that's what happens when you get on the big grinder. I'll just let that take care of itself outside. Alright, we've got that just about ground down. At this point, I don't know if you guys were able to see that trash can start on fire or not, but Jared alerted me that it was on fire, and he kicked it outside, and that's what it's been diminished down to. So that is just about removed itself from life altogether. I don't know what was in it. I think there was some ether in there from cleaning up the filter to the furnace. So we might as well let that completely burn. And yeah. Oh, there's Kerr right there. He did the Jake brake just for you guys, by the way. So we're gonna go back in here. I had the camera set up on the oxygen tank for my propane oxygen torch here, and that was of course looking this way, and the trash can was right there. And I don't know at this point until I get home and edit this video here later on tonight if that caught the barrel catching on fire. Jared was working on the 4020, and he said the flames were almost as tall as the ceiling here. And then of course I was just working on this unit here. I couldn't see it because I was focusing on what was going on here. Now we've got everything cut and ground, and we're ready to put the pieces back in to repair them posts. We've got the cross members in. I've breathed in enough of this rusty iron dust here that I don't think my voice could take, or my throat could take anymore. You can kind of tell by the sound of my voice here that it is still affecting me a little bit here. But this is where we're going to end the video here. I figured it would be a good stopping point. I don't know how long of footage I have here already recorded. So what we're going to do is we'll join back up with you on the next video, and what we're going to do is we're going to be putting them post pieces in. We've got a grain door to fix on the back and a grain spout, and then we've got to build the topper extension to go up around the other side there. So with that being said, folks, I want to thank you for watching, and we will catch you at the next video.